You shall not pass. I swear we're all going to be just bashing out all the Lord of the Rings phrases once this game comes out next year. Of course, it is Lord of the Rings Return to MORIA. It's a survival crafting game with up to 8 players in a procedurally generated world set in the age of the Fourth Age, after the One Ring has been destroyed. With the hype around Lord of the Rings still going on with the Rings of Power and more, whether you liked it or not, I just am very excited about an actual game set in the Tolkien universe. Not any game, a survival crafting co-op game. I'm super excited about this. So we got a bunch of new info come through the Nerd of the Rings YouTube channel, as well as a couple of interviews with PC Gamer and the Epic Games Store. So I was going to read and paraphrase a lot of that stuff, but instead I'm just going to give you 10 of the newest things we've learned in the last few days. Let's go. Number 1, the lore seems pretty bang on. They've consulted with a renowned Tolkien Lord of the Rings professor, Corey Olsen, so yeah, they're really taking it seriously, some of the lore or what they do know. And that was the main focus of the YouTube dev stream yesterday, about an hour and 20 minutes of the YouTuber Nerd of the Rings talking to some of the development team at Free Range Games. Links of course will be in the comment section, so check it out for yourself. The devs showed off some of the Dwarven language that will be utilising, as well as some of the song lyrics and phrases and sayings that you will hear. So there'll be some nice touches for really the lore nerds out there that really love that kind of in-depth kind of stuff. But what about the story itself? How or why are we returning to Moria? Gimli Lockbearer, yes, one of the original Fellowship, has tasked you with returning Moria to its former glory and will set out the quests and tasks for you as you begin. This was the main focus of that dev stream, speaking at length about the lore and how if you really love that stuff, you're going to have bucket loads of it to find and experience in the game. But if you're not maybe into the lore and the story aspects, you just want to get into the mechanics of building, crafting, exploring, then yes, you can get away with ignoring a lot of that. So finding references to Balin's axe, as well as being able to make magical and mythical tools associated with obviously the game, is going to be a key factor of it. Now, according to dependencies, other than being told we are going to return Moria to its former glories in the Fourth Age and maybe make a mithril gate for Tirith Mirith. So the devs were saying that they want to keep to the lore, but yeah, that's pretty much it. They can actually take the game in a lot of different ways and little different directions while respecting the stuff that's there and making sure they're not going a bit overboard. And I'm all down for having a bit more creative output and putting their own spin on stuff, especially as it is in the future of Lord of the Rings, not the past. A lot of questions in the stream were centered around how you'll be able to host your own worlds. The game is going to be a co-op action game where you will have your friends joining you. Doesn't look like I've got any plans at the moment for private or dedicated servers, or certainly they didn't mention much about this during the stream. But you can imagine that in the future it would be something they might consider. In a lot of the interviews though, they did stress that you won't be gated. If you do join your friends, you're not going to have to go here or pick up this or do that. You'll be able to get straight in on the action with them. The game will scale as more people join, but also the game will feel very different if you're playing solo or with some of your friends. Lots of components and their systems in place, like the light or noise mechanics, will mean that if you're playing with your friends, you can be a bit more noisier, a bit more adventurous, and maybe a little bit more going around and just bashing some of the orcs' heads in. If you're playing single player, you may have to be a little bit more stealthy. Each biome will be arranged and generated differently for each server, but it'll also help tell the story of Khazad-dûm. It feels like a real place with 1,000 years of history layered into the rock. So how does the light and dark mechanics work? Well, darkness is going to be a constant threat that can drain your will to continue, so you have to light the black pit, according to the excerpt from PC Gamer. So this is pretty interesting. I assumed when I first heard about this mechanic that it would be maybe Minecraft. Light up an area, stop mobs from spawning, but it does seem like it's a light that you've got to keep as like a home base feature, a light. If the light from the pit goes out, you won't necessarily be able to do certain things, or the mechanics will hinder or stop you. Maybe you'll be too scared to explore or be able to craft certain things until you've replenished it. So that's a big old difference. It does feel like it's going to be some sort of base defense feature in that way, that you've got to keep it lit and maybe, yeah, you'll be able to go about your business as long as it's always there. As mentioned earlier, noise is going to play a big part, just like it is in the movies and other stuff. Of course, if you make a lot of noise, the mobs and enemies will gravitate towards you more or be directly alerted. In multiplayer mode, you may be able to overcome them with brute force and numbers, but in single player, yeah, you may have to learn to be a bit more stealthy until you get maybe more upgrades or certainly know how to deal with each creature. According to Free Range Games, they want you to think of MORIA as maybe factional enemies rather than overwhelmingly just under Sauron's control. Of course, Sauron's gone now, and maybe some of the creatures that have lived for millennia have experienced this before. They know that the Dark Lord may return, but in this instance, maybe not. So who's in charge? Are they going to be going against each other, orcs fighting trolls, or will you be able to use that as your advantage? That's what they kind of allude to here with the factional enemies. The devs also stated they're all going to have really good personalities, so I'm hoping that means something along the lines of the Shadow of War series, as they were really great, some of the orcs in that. During the stream it was asked whether or not we'd see the return or some kind of incarnation of balrogs, and it does look likely. They mentioned explicitly Shadow and Flame, you would encounter them. Gandalf, of course, defeated the main Balrog that we knew about, but you know, if you go deep into the lore, you'll find out there's quite a few of these guys roaming around, possibly in some of the mountains. So that would be pretty cool if we've got an overarching story that we're going to help defeat another Balrog or set up a big boss battle. Customization of your dwarf is going to be a big feature, with beard tech patented or something along them lines, that they're very excited about the idea that you'll be able to create and custom make the dwarf of your dreams. There will be presets for body types and stuff like that you can choose from, but yes, a whole multitude of aspects to modify and change to make your dwarf look pretty unique. Crafting and building up a base might not be as simple as just starting out getting the resources. You might actually have to take over certain locations. Although the game will be procedurally generated, there will be familiar landmarks that you might expect from the lore of the game to be peppered in between them spaces. And this mechanic really stood out for me, that you'll be able to go ahead and build your own forts inside some of these areas and places, but you'll also be able to replenish and renew some of the locations that you'll find, restore them to their former glory, and you'll need to do that to get access to brand new recipes and crafting. So not just for cosmetic reasons, you will actually be able to utilise some of the places that you repair. Survival mechanics in this game are obviously going to be strong. You are going to need to do things like sleep, take care of your temperature, and obviously make sure you've got enough food. And that's a big focus of the game as well, is that food. So how do you find food in just dank caves? There's going to be a variety of wildlife to hunt and forage for resources, maybe rivers possibly to fish in, that's what I'm guessing. But they did stress that there'll be lots of caverns where you'll find resources and natural growing foods. Will it be something we'll be able to farm and actually grow our own crops? That would be pretty cool. And that leads us on to the biomes or the caves and caverns we'll find. So again, lots of the caverns will be lit up by the natural rocks or pools of light coming from certain shafts, exploring sunken mines or flooded mines at least, and a variety of other locations like cities, ancient cities, that we'll have to hopefully help restore. Again, that focus on finding a way to get through certain blocked areas or how or why they're blocked kind of leads me to feel like it's going to be more of a challenge or maybe even puzzle elements. As dwarves, you are well versed in making metal tools, so you're not going to be starting out with anything wooden really. It's all about that knowledge that you've already got as master blacksmiths, etc. So we'll be embellishing, maybe add weapons and tools with more magic or being able to upgrade them with different resources, but also be able to craft magical amulets as well. So I'm guessing it'll be some sort of offhand slot for accessories. And ultimately, a lot of people were asking about when are they going to get a chance to play. It doesn't look like they've got any news to share about alphas or betas and stuff. And given no gameplay was shown, I wouldn't expect this until maybe actually summer next year. And yes, it will be an Epic Games Store exclusive. It won't be returning to Steam, I guess, for a year and then make an appearance there before hopefully being ported to consoles in the future. But the devs really wouldn't be drawn on whether that's going to be 100% guaranteed. But there we go, that is what I felt was the most important stuff from the interviews. As I said, all the links to them will be down below. Go and check out that live stream for more about the lore and story. And any more news about Return to MORIA with Lord of the Rings, I'll be there first to deliver it to you. As always, the home of survival games, laters ratbags.